Hey guys, and welcome to Born in the Past. Tonight we do not walk in the light of history. We creep into its darkest, most silent shadows. We seek a figure so wrapped in legend and folklore that it is hard to separate the man from the myth. The Shinobi, the silent warrior of feudal Japan. Together, we will uncover the brutal, unglamorous, and silent reality of the Shadow Warrior. We will discover why the life of a ninja was not one of adventure and supernatural feats, but a relentless death sentence where a single mistake was your last, and success was rewarded only with silence. So before we disappear into the night, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to Born in the Past. And I'm always curious to see our global community, so let me know in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is in your part of the world. It's fascinating to see. All right, find a quiet place, dim the lights, and let's fade into the shadows. You do not wake to the sound of a horn or the smell of a communal breakfast. You wake to an internal clock, an ingrained discipline that rouses you in the cold, absolute blackness, hours before the sun will even consider rising over the mountain peaks. Your bed is a simple tatami mat on a polished wooden floor. The air in your small, sparse room is cold and clean, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth from the hidden mountain compound that is your entire world. There is no comfort here. There is only purpose. Before your body moves, your mind must be brought to heel. The day does not begin with stretching your aching muscles, but with stretching your spirit. This is the first and most important part of your training. Seishin Teki Kyoyo, the spiritual refinement. You fold your legs into the seiza position, your back perfectly straight, your hands resting on your thighs. Your eyes close. The goal is not to pray to any god. It is to find the void. You focus on your breath, in and out, a slow, silent rhythm. Your teacher's voice echoes in your memory, not as a command, but as a statement of fact. The heart of a man is a noisy, crowded room, filled with the shouting of fear, the whining of desire, the arrogance of pride, and the weeping of sorrow. A shinobi cannot afford such company. You must evict them all. You must make your heart a silent, empty room, so that you may hear the footsteps of an enemy 100 paces away. And so, you breathe. You acknowledge each thought as it arises, a flicker of memory of yesterday's grueling training, a phantom ache in your shoulder, a pang of hunger, and you let it go. You watch it drift away like a cloud, offering it no resistance, no judgment. You are cultivating mushin, the state of no mind. You are becoming a placid, dark lake, where even the smallest pebble of an external stimulus will create a ripple you can instantly detect. Fear is a luxury you cannot afford. Hope is a distraction. Love is a weakness that can be used against you. You must become nothing so that you can become anything. A shadow, a whisper, a gust of wind. This mental stillness is then focused into the physical. You begin the breathing exercises of Sokushin. You draw a breath so slowly and silently that a feather held before your nostrils would not stir. You hold it, feeling the pressure build in your chest, learning the landscape of your own lungs, extending the limits of your endurance, second by agonizing second. You release it just as slowly. This is the breath you will use when hiding in the cramped space beneath a floorboard for hours, listening to the guards walk just above your head. This is the breath you will use while submerged in the icy water of a castle moat, breathing through a thin reed. It is the control of the one bodily function that for others is uncontrollable. You spend what feels like an eternity in this state of controlled emptiness. The outside world does not exist. The only reality is the rise and fall of your own chest, the cool air entering your nostrils, the slight warmth as it leaves. Many believe the ninja's strength comes from his ability to climb walls or wield a blade. You know the truth. The strength of the shinobi comes from this, from the ability to conquer the self, to kill the man inside in order to give birth to the tool. A single distant chime from the compound's temple bell echoes through the misty forest. It is not a call to prayer. It is a signal. The time for stillness is over. The time for pain is about to begin. The forging of the shadow has only just begun. The echo of the temple bell fades into the mist of the morning. The stillness in your mind, so carefully cultivated in the dark, now gives way to the full, screaming presence of your body. You step out from the small meditation hall into the cold, damp air of the central courtyard. Other figures, shadows like yourself, emerge from the surrounding buildings. There are no words. There is only the shared understanding that the peace is over. The day's physical punishment awaits. Your training is in taijutsu, the art of the body. It is a world away from the noble, ritualized swordplay of the samurai you are trained to evade. Theirs is an art of honor, of open combat. Yours is the art of the cornered animal, brutal, efficient, and utterly devoid of honor. Your partner for the day rushes you. You do not meet his attack head on. You yield, you pivot, you disappear from his line of attack. Your movement is a fluid circle, while his is a committed line. You use his own momentum against him. Your hands do not strike like fists, they strike like beaks and claws. You learn to target the gaps in a hypothetical armor and the weaknesses of the human body. A sharp, precise strike to the throat, a jab to the eyes, a brutal kick to the back of the knee. You learn joint locks that can snap a man's arm and chokes that can render him unconscious in seconds. It is a grammar of pain, and you must become a fluent speaker. The sparring is relentless. You are thrown onto the hard-packed earth until the breath is knocked from your body. Your joints are twisted into angles of fire. You taste your own blood, but you are forbidden from crying out. Pain, your master teaches, is a conversation between you and your own body. It is not for public broadcast. A man who cries out in pain is a man who reveals his position to the enemy. So you take the blows, the falls, the searing agony of a twisted wrist, and you turn it inward. You pack it down into a hard, cold stone of endurance in the pit of your stomach. After the body is bruised, it must be taught silence. This is Shinobi-iri, the art of silent entry, and it is a form of torture all its own. You are made to walk across a floor of dry, scattered leaves, and you must not make a single rustle. You move across a specially constructed nightingale floor, its boards designed to sing and chirp at the slightest pressure. Your task is to cross it without it making a sound. This is not about walking lightly. This is about understanding the very nature of balance and pressure. You learn to walk on the outer edges of your feet, to control your body's center of gravity with a precision that borders on the supernatural. You spend hours moving through a darkened room hung with tiny bells, a breath held in your chest, your movements so slow and deliberate that you feel more like a glacier than a man. The courtyard then gives way to the mountainside. You run, not on a flat track, but up steep wooded inclines, through thick undergrowth and across fast-moving streams. You run until your lungs are fire and your legs are lead. And when you can run no more, you climb. This is Shoten no Jutsu, the art of ascending, not with ropes and pitons, but with your bare hands and feet. You find purchase on the rough bark of a pine tree, on the cold, unforgiving face of a wet cliff. Your fingers, already raw from sparring, are scraped and bloodied. The strain in your shoulders and back is immense. But you climb, because a wall is the most common and most effective defense an enemy possesses. And to a ninja, a wall must be just another kind of ladder. You are not just training your muscles. You are recalibrating your entire being. Your feet are learning to be as silent as the pads of a hunting cat. Your hands are becoming grappling hooks, capable of finding purchase where none exists. Your body is learning to fold itself into shadows, to become a key that can fit any lock. You are being systematically stripped of the clumsy, noisy, vulnerable movements of a normal human being. By midday, your body is a symphony of new aches, each one a sharp counterpoint to the dull aches of yesterday. Every muscle is a testament to the day's brutal lessons. You have broken your body down, pushed it far past its perceived limits, so that it can be rebuilt into something else. It is no longer the body of a man. It is the body of a weapon, a living tool, sharpened by pain, and ready to be wielded by the silent will of your clan. Your body has been forged into a weapon. Now you must learn to use the tools that will extend its reach. A samurai's identity is tied to his swords, the magnificent daisho. They are symbols of his status, worn openly, a testament to his honor and his readiness for open combat. Your tools are the opposite. They are small, ugly, and anonymous. They are designed to be hidden, to be disguised, to do their work in secret and silence. A ninja's gear is not for battle. It is for solving problems. Every lock is a puzzle, every wall a question, every guard a temporary obstacle. These are your answers. You are first introduced to the kaganawa, the grappling hook. It is not the large four-pronged anchor you might imagine from theatrical stories. It is smaller, a simple iron hook, sometimes with 2 or 3 prongs, easily hidden in a sleeve or a small pouch. The rope attached to it is the true marvel. It is thin, almost delicate, yet possesses an impossible strength. It is woven from strands of silk, or sometimes from the hair of the clan's women, a silent, personal connection to the home you are sworn to protect. You spend endless hours in the courtyard practicing the throw, not for distance, but for silence. The goal is to toss the hook over a high branch or the top of a wall so that it lands with a soft, muffled thump, not a loud, attention-grabbing clang. You learn to coil the rope so it never tangles, to scale it with a fluid, spider-like grace, your body held close to the wall to present the smallest possible silhouette. Next, you are handed the kunai. The stories of your enemies will call it a throwing knife. You are taught that this is a fool's belief and a fool's use for a valuable tool. You feel its weight in your hand. It has the heft and shape of a farmer's trowel, because that is its origin. It is a digging tool. You learn to use its pointed tip to gouge out handholds in a soft earthen wall, to pry at the latch of a window, or to dig a small hole beneath a fence. Its flat, ringed pommel can be used to hammer a wedge into a doorframe. Its sharp edge can cut a rope, or a throat in a moment of desperation, but that is its last purpose, not its first. It is the single most versatile tool you own, a multi-purpose key for the physical world. For tasks that require more finesse, you have the shikoro. It is not a grand saw for felling trees, but a small, flexible blade, sometimes with teeth on both sides, that can be coiled and hidden in the palm of your hand. You learn its patient work. You do not use it with frantic, noisy strokes. You are taught to use a slow, rhythmic sawing, lubricated with water or oil, that mimics the sound of rats chewing on wood, a common, disregarded sound in any old castle or manor. With this mouse's tooth, you can silently cut through a wooden lattice, the bars of a window, or even the floorboards beneath a sleeping guard, creating an entrance where none existed. You are presented with a dozen different types of simple iron and wooden locks, the kind used on storehouses and gates. Your answer to these is a small wrapped bundle of slender iron picks and probes, the kairiki. This is not about force. It is the work of a surgeon, not a soldier. You learn to listen to the whispers of the lock, to feel the faint, almost imperceptible clip of the tumblers falling into place. You spend days in a dark room, learning to open them by touch alone, your fingers becoming as sensitive as a physician's. And for the most common obstacle of all, a solid wall or a paper screen, you have the tsubogiri, a simple hand drill. Its purpose is not to make a large hole, but a single tiny peephole. Through this small window, no bigger than your thumbnail, you can map an entire room, count the guards, time their movements, and identify your target. Knowledge is your greatest weapon. And this humble tool is often the key to acquiring it. These items, and a few others, a small water skin, a bag of dried rice, a vial for poison, are wrapped in a dark, soft cloth. They are not impressive. They do not gleam like a samurai's polished helmet. They are dull, practical, and deadly in their application. You learn that each one represents a solution. A way over, a way through, a way in. A legendary ninja is not the one with the most lethal weapons. He is the one whose tools are never seen, whose work is never discovered. They are not meant to take a life. They are meant to prevent the loss of your own by ensuring you are never caught. They are the instruments of a ghost. Any fool with enough brute force can break into a house. Your master reminds you of this every day. The art of the shinobi is not measured by the entry, but by the exit. To get in is a challenge of skill. To get out, especially after the alarm has been raised, is a challenge of wits. Your training now moves from the tools of infiltration to the tools of evasion. This is not an arsenal for killing. This is your arsenal of deception. You are handed a delicate, hollowed-out eggshell, its contents sealed with a plug of wax. It feels impossibly light in your hand. Inside, you are told, is the metsubushi, the eye closer. It is not a magical powder of legend, but a foul, irritating mixture of fine ash, sand, ground pepper, and sometimes iron filings that have been rusted and ground to a fine powder. You are taught to carry several of these, in eggshells, small bamboo tubes, or lacquer boxes. You practice throwing it. Not at a solid target, but at the space where a man's face would be. You learn to crush the container in your palm and blow the contents forward in a directed cloud. The goal is not to blind a man forever, but to overwhelm his senses for a few crucial seconds. It is a weapon against an enemy's most valuable asset, his sout. To be struck by it is to be plunged into a world of sudden, stinging, watery darkness, a world where you are helpless, choking, and unable to fight back. In those few seconds of an enemy's panic, you are meant to disappear. Next, you learn the simple, wicked cruelty of the makibishi. These are caltrops, small, spiked instruments of iron forged from scrap metal and designed with a brutal ingenuity so that no matter how they land, one sharp point is always facing the sky. They are not meant to be a lethal weapon. They are a weapon against pursuit. The samurai who chase you may be wearing armor, but on their feet are simple straw sandals, the waraji. They offer no protection against a sharp iron spike. You learn to scatter them without looking, a casual, backward flick of the wrist as you run through a narrow corridor or a dark forest path. You do not need to see the result. You will hear it. A sharp cry of pain, a curse, the sound of a confident pursuit suddenly faltering. It is the sound of your escape being purchased by another man's agony. Each spike in the foot is another second you have to vanish into the night. Then you are taught the art of kayaku, the foundation of fire and smoke. You are not a master bomb maker, but you learn the basic chemistry of chaos. You learn to mix saltpeter, sulfur, and charcoal in precise ratios to create small, handheld smoke bombs wrapped in rice paper and fused with a simple string. The goal is not a great destructive explosion, but a thick, acrid, disorienting cloud. A fire on a mission is a tool, a small, contained blaze in a stable, can draw every guard on the premises, creating the perfect diversion for your entry or exit. Smoke creates panic. Panic creates mistakes. And you, as a ninja, are trained to thrive on the mistakes of others. You begin to understand the philosophy. Your arsenal is designed to attack not the body, but the senses. The Metsubushi attacks the eyes. The Makibishi attacks the feet. The smoke bomb attacks the lungs and the sense of direction. You even learn to use sound. You learn how a handful of dried peas thrown onto a rooftop can mimic the sound of footsteps, drawing a patrol in the wrong direction. You learn how a small cage of crickets, released into a quiet garden, can provide a layer of ambient noise to mask the sound of your own movements. These are not just tools of escape. They are instruments of psychological warfare. A proud samurai expects to face a sword. He trains his entire life for an honorable duel. He does not expect to be suddenly blinded by a cloud of pepper and ash. He does not expect his heroic charge to be ended by a rusty spike driven through the sole of his foot. He does not expect his enemy to simply vanish in a puff of smoke. You are not fighting him on his terms. You are dismantling his confidence, his training, and his very understanding of what combat is supposed to be. You are taught to layer these deceptions. A trail of caltrops leading into a smoke-filled room. A blinding powder followed by the sound of a splash in the moat, making them think you have gone one way while you silently slip away in another. Your greatest strength is not your ability to fight like a warrior, but your ability to make the warrior fight against shadows, against his own fear, and against himself. You are not just a spy or a saboteur. You are an architect of chaos. You have learned to control your body until it moves like water. You have learned to use your tools as extensions of your will. Now comes the final, most difficult, and most important lesson of your training: the death of the self. A ninja who looks like a ninja is a dead ninja. Your greatest weapon is not a blade or a bomb, but your ability to be utterly, completely, and boringly unremarkable. The plays and stories will show you dressed in a suit of pure black, a demon of the night, a creature of myth. This is a comforting lie told by your enemies, because it gives you a form they can recognize. Your master drills this foolishness out of you. The iconic black Shinobi Shizoku is a costume for the stage, or for the very specific, rare occasion of a nighttime siege against a dark wall. To walk through a town dressed like that would be to shout your presence to every guard and peasant for miles. Your true uniform, the one you will wear most often, is the face of the common man. For your first mission, you will not be a warrior. You will not even be yourself. You will be a man of peace, a komuso, a wandering monk of the Fuke sect, a common sight on the roads of Japan. These monks, disenfranchised samurai who had lost their masters, were known to travel the land, playing a bamboo flute and begging for alms. They were seen as harmless, slightly pitiable figures, and were granted freedom of travel throughout the provinces. They were, in essence, invisible. The transformation begins. You are stripped of your dark, practical training clothes. You are given a rough, indigo-dyed robe, the kimono of a simple traveler. It is coarse and smells of wood smoke and the road. You are given a set of sandals and a cloth bag for your meager possessions. You are given a shakuhachi, a simple end-blown bamboo flute. You have spent months learning to play it, not to become a master musician, but to play it with the mournful, wandering, slightly unskilled notes of a true mendicant. Your music must be forgettable. And finally, you are given the most important tool of this disguise, the tengai. It is a deep, woven basket of reed or wicker, shaped like a beehive, that you place over your entire head. The world as you know it vanishes. Your vision, once trained to scan entire landscapes, is now reduced to a narrow, latticed view of the ground, a few feet in front of you. Your face is gone. Your identity is gone. To anyone who sees you, you are not a person. You are a symbol, a walking mystery, a man who has renounced his own face. You are now anonymous. You are invisible in plain sight. But the disguise is a hollow shell without the spirit to inhabit it. You must now kill the ninja inside. You have spent years learning to walk with a silent, coiled gait, every muscle ready to spring into action. Now, you must learn to walk with the slow, shuffling steps of a man weary from a long journey, his focus on the earth, not on the rooftops. You have been trained to meet the gaze of any man with a cold, assessing calm. Now, you must learn to bow your head in deference when a samurai passes, to feel a convincing flicker of fear and respect, not to perform a cold assessment of the weaknesses in his armor and posture. Your life becomes a performance, a piece of theater where the slightest mistake means death. You must know the monk's simple prayers. You must know how to accept a bowl of rice with the correct, humble gratitude. You must know how to answer questions about a monastery you have never seen and a master you have never met. You must learn to think the monk's thoughts, to feel his simple wariness, to desire nothing more than a dry place to sleep and a small meal. Any trace of the highly trained, hyper-aware predator you truly are, any sharp, sudden glance, any movement of athletic efficiency would betray you instantly. This is the final stage of your forging. It is the art of becoming no one, so that you can be anywhere and see anything. You are a ghost, inhabiting the shell of a holy man. You pick up your flute, settle the basket over your head, and take your first step out of the hidden compound and onto the dusty road. You are leaving the only home you have ever known, not as yourself, but as someone else entirely. The shadow has been forged. Now, it is ready to move. The gate of your hidden compound closes behind you with a quiet finality. You are now in the world. To any who see you, you are a komuso, a harmless wandering monk on a slow pilgrimage to nowhere in particular. But you know the truth. You are an infiltrator, a foreign agent, deep inside a province, ruled by a rival lord. Every step you take is a lie. Every bow of your head is a deception. The road itself is enemy territory. The Tengai basket over your head is your greatest shield. It is a portable fortress of anonymity. People see it, and their eyes slide away. To look too closely at a komuso is considered impolite, an intrusion into his spiritual world. They see not a man, but a religious symbol, and they afford you a wide berth. Their piety and social custom are your camouflage. Through the narrow, latticed weave of the basket, you watch them. You see the world, but the world does not see you. The road is a river of humanity. Loud, boisterous merchants with their ox-drawn carts, chattering pilgrims on their way to a famous shrine, stern-faced samurai officials with their retinue of servants, and endless streams of peasants, their faces etched with the hardships of their lives. You are just another drop in this river, and your goal is to flow with it unnoticed. You eat what you can beg for, or what you can purchase with the few coins you carry, a rice ball wrapped in seaweed, some sour, pickled vegetables. You sleep in the hayloft of a sympathetic farmer's barn, the smell of the animals a comforting blanket of normalcy. Or you sleep under a bridge, listening to the quiet murmur of the river, your senses always half awake, cataloging every sound in the night. Then you hear it, a sound that cuts through the gentle hum of the road, the rhythmic beat of horses' hooves on the hard-packed earth. A samurai patrol, 3 of them, riding with the easy arrogance of men who own the road and everyone on it. Their armor gleams in the sun. Their long swords, the katana, are a constant promise of swift, casual death. The ninja inside you, the part of you that can never be fully silenced, instantly assesses them. You see the frayed strap on one man's saddle, a potential weakness. Days later, you arrive at a checkpoint, guarding a bridge that marks the border of your target's province. A single ashigaru, a low-ranking foot soldier, leans on his spear, his face a mask of profound boredom. But boredom can be dangerous. It often seeks distraction. He stops you with a grunt. "You, monk, where are you from? Where are you going?" His questions are simple, but they are a test. A single hesitation, a glance in the wrong direction, a tremor in your voice could awaken his suspicion. You have rehearsed this 1,000 times. You give the name of a monastery 2 provinces away, a place known for its wandering monks. You speak of a desire to see a famous shrine to the south. Your voice, when it comes out, is not your own. It is the voice of the persona you wear. Quiet, humble, slightly reedy. You are just a man of faith on a meaningless journey. The soldier grunts again, his suspicion unsatisfied, but his laziness winning the battle. He waves you on. You bow your head and cross the bridge, your steps slow and measured. Only when you are out of his sight, a mile down the road, do you allow your own breath to return to its normal rhythm. This long road is not just a journey through space. It is a journey through 1,000 potential moments of discovery. Every person you meet is a test of your disguise. Every conversation a potential trap. You are a ghost, but even a ghost can cast a shadow if the light hits it in just the wrong way. And with every step, you are walking ever deeper into the land of your enemies, where the light is harsh, and the shadows you so desperately need are few and far between. You arrive at the castle town, and there it is, your target. It rises above the low rooftops of the town like a different species of creation. It does not look like a building. It looks like a mountain given teeth. A fortress of dark stone, heavy timber, and arrogant power. Its walls are high and sheer, its corners punctuated by watchtowers, its peak crowned by the curved, tiled roof of the Lord's Keep. The mission, which was an abstract concept spoken in hushed tones in your master's briefing room, is now a physical, intimidating reality. To the peasants who live in its shadow, it is a symbol of order and protection. To you, it is a puzzle box, and you must find the key. For the first few days, you do nothing related to your mission. You do the work of your disguise. You find a corner in the courtyard of a small temple on the edge of town, a place that tolerates the presence of wandering monks. You spend your days sitting, playing your shakuhachi flute, your head and face hidden by the tangai basket. Your tunes are mournful and simple. You are not playing for an audience. You are playing to be ignored. You become a fixture. The locals see you every day, a silent, unassuming figure. The children are curious at first, but soon grow bored. The guards at the town gate see you and register you as part of the scenery. You are becoming part of the landscape, and therefore invisible. But while the monk appears to be meditating, the ninja is at work. From a wooded hill overlooking the castle, you begin your true task, the work of watching. You sit for hours, motionless, your eyes scanning the fortress. You are a hunter, and this is you learning the habits of your prey. You watch the sun glint off the helmets of the guards as they walk the battlements. You learn their routines. You see the changing of the guard, noting the exact time, noting the brief moment of lax security as one shift leaves and the other arrives. You learn the guards as individuals, giving them names in your mind. There is Limping Guard, whose patrol on the eastern wall is always slower than the others. There is Tired Guard, who yawns and leans on his spear when he thinks no one is watching from below. There is arrogant guard, who walks his post with a swagger, his attention on the town below, not on the wall beneath his feet. Your mind becomes a map, a document far more detailed than any stolen scroll. You note every detail. A crack in the mortar on the western wall, large enough to provide a handhold. A large pine tree whose thickest branches overhang the dark waters of the moat near the south tower. A drainage culvert near the kitchens, covered by an iron grate that looks old and rusted. Each tiny imperfection is a potential invitation, a thread you might use to weave your rope of entry. In the evenings, you are back in the town, a humble monk begging for a meal. You sit in the corner of a noisy, smoke-filled tavern, nursing a single cup of cheap sake for an hour. You are not there to drink. You are there to listen. You listen to the gossip of off-duty Ashigaru, the foot soldiers. They complain about their captain. They boast of their skill with a spear. They speak of the new shipment of rice that has just arrived at the castle's storehouse. You listen to a merchant complaining that the hinges on the western supply gate have been squeaking for a week, and no one has bothered to oil them. You listen to a servant girl giggle with her friend about how the lord of the castle, your ultimate target, drinks too much sake every night and sleeps as heavily as a stone. These whispers, these mundane complaints and snippets of gossip are worth more to you than 1,000 swords. They are keys. You have your information. You have your mental map. You have identified your potential paths, your timings, your targets. But you do not act. Patience is the greatest virtue of the shinobi. To rush is to die. You must wait for the world to provide you with a partner. You watch the sky. You feel the subtle shifts in the wind. You wait for the gods of the weather to offer you a gift. And then, after a week of this patient, silent siege, the gift arrives. The sky to the west darkens. The air becomes heavy and humid. The wind begins to pick up, carrying the smell of rain. A storm is coming. A night of heavy driving rain that will turn the ground to mud. A night of howling wind and loud thunder that will mask any sound you might make. A night where the guards will be miserable, cold, wet, and thinking only of the warm fire in their barracks. The castle will be blind and deaf. Tonight is the night. Your patient watch is over. The shadow is about to move. The storm breaks with a fury only the mountains can conjure. The sky, which had been a dark bruised purple, now turns a churning absolute black. The wind howls, a mournful, angry spirit tearing through the trees. And then comes the rain, not a gentle shower, but a cold, driving deluge that turns the dusty streets of the town into rivers of mud. This is your cloak. This is your cover. This is the gift from the gods you were waiting for. You slip out of the temple courtyard, a ghost swallowed by a tempest. The town is dead. Doors are barred, windows are shuttered. The only light comes from the occasional, violent flash of lightning that illuminates the world in a stark, momentary silhouette. You move not through the main streets, but through the narrow, winding back alleys, a maze you have already committed to memory. Your feet, wrapped in soft cloth over your sandals, make no sound on the muddy ground. You are a deeper shadow within the storm's own darkness. Your movements fluid and economical. A dog barks, but its warning is stolen by a peal of thunder. You reach the great pine tree at the edge of the moat, the one you identified during your long watch. Its ancient, thick branches stretch out over the churning black water, a dark, natural bridge to the castle's outer wall. You do not hesitate. You move through its branches like a creature of the forest, your hands and feet finding purchase on the slick, wet bark. The wind whips through the pine needles, a roaring sound that covers any noise you might make. Below you, the moat is a black, turbulent mirror reflecting the lightning-streaked sky. A fall here would not just mean drowning, it would mean failing, and failure is a concept your training has taught you to fear more than death. You drop silently from the final branch onto the narrow strip of land at the base of the castle wall. It is a sheer cliff of black, wet stone, disappearing up into the roaring darkness. The rain runs down its face in slick, oily sheets. It seems impossible, an insurmountable barrier of man and nature combined. You press your cheek against the cold, wet stone for a moment, listening. You are listening for the castle's heartbeat, for the vibration of a guard's patrol on the wall above. You hear nothing but the storm. You uncoil your kaganawa. The thin, strong rope feels slick in your hands. The iron hook is cold. You wait for a gust of wind, and as it howls, you begin to swing the hook in a slow, controlled circle. Once, twice. You are not aiming for a specific spot. You are aiming for a sound, or a lack of one. You release. The hook sails upward, a dark bird against the darker sky, swallowed by the night. You hold the line. Your senses focused entirely on the faint vibrations traveling down the rope. You do not hear it land over the roar of the storm. You feel it. A faint, telltale tug on the line, a subtle shift in tension that tells you the hook has found its perch on the wooden battlements above. You pull on it once, twice, testing it with a portion of your weight. It holds. The climb begins. It is a battle fought in utter silence against gravity, fear, and the elements. Your world shrinks to the few feet of rope in your hands and the wall in front of you. Your muscles, forged in the training yard, now perform the work they were designed for. You pull yourself up, your feet finding purchase on the rough-hewn stones of the wall. The rain plasters your clothes to your skin, chilling you to the bone. The wind tries to tear you from your perch, a great unseen hand pushing you out into the void. You ignore it. You focus only on the next handhold, the next placement of your foot. Hand over hand, you ascend into the roaring darkness. You near the top. You can see the dark silhouette of the wooden parapet above you. You slow your ascent, your movements becoming infinitely more careful. A dislodged stone, a careless scrape of a sandal, could alert the guard you know is somewhere up there, seeking shelter from the rain. You hold your position just below the edge, your body pressed flat against the stone, and you listen. For long moments, you hear only the storm. Then, with a final, desperate burst of strength, fueled by adrenaline, you pull yourself up and over the edge. You do not vault over with athletic flair. You flow over it, like water, rolling silently onto the wooden walkway of the battlement. You lie there for a moment, your cheek pressed against the wet, splintered wood, your lungs burning, your heart a wild drum against your ribs, its frantic rhythm masked by the thunder above. You have breached the first line of defense. You are inside. You have become a poison in the castle's veins. But you are a long way from its heart, and the fortress is full of antibodies, guards, samurai, and the ever-present risk of a single fatal mistake. You are inside the castle's outer wall, but the keep itself, the Tenshu, is another fortress entirely. You move along the base of the main building, a deeper shadow among the storm-cast shadows, your back pressed against the cold, wet wood. The rain has lessened to a steady, hissing drizzle, but the wind still gusts, providing a welcome cloak of sound. Your reconnaissance told you that the kitchens, a lower status area of the keep, would have the weakest security. You find the window you noted days ago, its wooden lattice work simple, its latch internal but crude. Your kunai makes no sound as you slide it from its hiding place in your tunic. Its pointed tip is the perfect tool. You slide it carefully into the small gap between the window frame and the wall. You feel for the wooden latch bar. A small amount of upward pressure, a faint, almost imperceptible scrape of metal on wood, and you feel the bar lift. You wait, listening. Nothing. Slowly, you slide the window open, just enough to fit through. You pour your body through the opening with the fluid silence of a cat and find yourself inside. The air in here is immediately different. It is still and warm, heavy with the lingering scent of old cooking smoke, spilled sake, and the faint, sweet smell of incense from the Lord's chambers somewhere above. You're in a world of polished wooden floors and paper walls. It is a world designed for beauty and ceremony, but for you, it is a landscape of traps. Every surface is a potential betrayer, waiting to amplify the slightest sound. You come to a long corridor. A flash of lightning outside momentarily illuminates the polished floorboards, revealing a deep, lustrous sheen. You know what this is. The master builder of this castle was a cautious man. This is an ogisibari, a nightingale floor. You have studied them, trained on them. The floorboards are set upon a clever system of metal clamps and nails, designed to rub against each other and create a chirping sound like a bird at the slightest pressure. It is a beautiful, elegant security system. To cross it is to walk on the back of a sleeping dragon. You begin your crossing. This is the art of Shinobi in its purest form. You do not walk, you fling. Your center of gravity is low, your movements excruciatingly slow. You place your foot down not heel to toe, but on its outer edge, slowly rolling your weight onto it, testing each board before committing your full mass. The muscles in your legs and core are screaming with the strain of this unnatural control. It takes you 10 minutes to cross a space a normal man would walk in 10 seconds. Your ears are straining, listening for the telltale chirp that would signal your presence and your doom. Halfway across, you hear it. Not the floor, but something else. The soft, rhythmic tread of waraji sandals on the floorboards at the far end of the hall. A guard patrol. You have a fraction of a second to react. There is no place to hide, no furniture, no armor stands. There is only a shallow alcove to your left, covered by a painted paper screen, a shoji. You melt into it, pressing your body flat against the wall behind the screen. The paper is thin, fragile. It is a barrier to sight, but not to a spear thrust. It would offer no more protection than a spider's web. You become a statue of pure stillness. You hold your breath. You slow your own heart. A lantern passes on the other side of the screen, its light casting long, dancing shadows. You see the silhouettes of two guards as they pass by the screen. They are close enough that you can smell the rain on their cloaks. They pause. Your entire being becomes a statue of stillness. You can feel the blood pounding in your ears. One of them mutters something about the storm. The other grunts in reply. And then they move on. Their footsteps fade down the corridor. You wait. You count to 100 in your mind, each number a small victory. Only then do you allow yourself a single, slow, silent breath. The air you draw in feels like the sweetest nectar. You have survived. You continue your crawl through the heart of the sleeping castle. You are a disease in its veins, a whisper in its halls, moving ever closer to the mind of your enemy. The silence is your shield, but it is also a canvas upon which the slightest mistake, a cough, a stumble, a creaking floorboard, will be painted in loud, fatal colors for all to see. And the most dangerous part of your journey, the arrival at your final destination, is still to come. You reach the final door. Not a heavy barred gate, but a simple sliding paper screen, a fusuma, painted with a serene image of a crane in a pine tree. There is no sound from within. But your training has taught you that silence is not the same as emptiness. Silence can be full of danger. You press your ear to the paper, listening past the sound of the rain and your own blood pounding in your ears, and you hear it. The slow, deep, rhythmic breathing of a man in a heavy sleep. You do not enter immediately. You retrieve your tsubogiri, the small hand drill. You place its sharp tip against the wooden frame of the door at floor level. With slow, careful, silent turns, you create a tiny hole. You press your eye to it. The opening gives you a sliver of a view into the room beyond. It is the Lord's bedchamber. The room is large and sparsely furnished in the austere style favored by powerful samurai. A single oil lamp, its wick trimmed low, sputters on a small table, casting long, flickering shadows. And you see him, the lord of this castle, the man whose death or disgrace is the entire purpose of your journey. He sleeps on a simple futon on the floor, a heavy silk comforter pulled up to his chin. His breathing is a low, guttural rumble, the sound of a man deep in a sake-induced slumber. And beside him, on a black lacquer stand, rest his swords, the daisho. Their polished steel seems to drink the fate light, their very presence a lethal threat, even while their master sleeps. He is a sleeping tiger, and you are a mouse attempting to steal the food from his bowl. You take a slow, controlled breath and slide the paper door open. Not in a single movement, but a fraction of an inch at a time. The wooden runners make a faint whispering sound against their track, a sound that you pray is masked by the drumming of the rain on the roof. The movement takes a full minute. You pour your body through the narrow gap, a drop of ink falling into a pool of water, and then you slide the door closed with the same excruciating care. You are in the room. Your eyes, now accustomed to the gloom, find it immediately. A heavy, iron-bound chest against the far wall. The intelligence you gathered in the tavern was correct. That is where the Lord keeps his correspondence and his military maps. You move towards it. Your feet, trained on the nightingale floors, make no sound on the soft tatami mats. Each step is a lifetime. The air is thick with the smell of the lamp oil and the faint, bitter scent of the Lord's sake-laden breath. You kneel before the lock on the chest. It is a simple but sturdy iron lock. Force is not an option. You retrieve your slender iron picks from their cloth wrap. Your hands, which can climb stone walls and break bones, must now perform the delicate work of a watchmaker in the near darkness. The first touch of metal on metal inside the lock sounds to you like a temple bell. You hold your breath, your ears straining. The Lord does not stir. You begin your work, your touch light, feeling for the faint vibrations of the tumblers inside. You work by memory and by feel. The flickering lamplight a hindrance more than a help. A sound from the futon. A low groan. The Lord rolls onto his side, his body now turned towards you. His breathing pattern changes. You freeze. Your body becomes a statue of granite. Your hand hovers over the hilt of your tanto, the short blade hidden in your tunic. Every fiber of your being is coiled, ready to spring, ready to deliver a single, silent, killing blow if he wakes. This is the ultimate failure point. To be forced to kill the target when the mission was to steal from him is to leave a bloody, undeniable calling card. You wait. You can see the faint twitch of his eyelids in the lamplight. He sighs, a long, deep rumble, and settles back into sleep. The wave of terror recedes, leaving you drenched in a cold sweat you did not know you were producing. You turn your attention back to the walk. Your fingers, steady once more, find their place. You feel a tumbler shift, then another. And then a soft, oily click, A sound of beautiful, terrifying success. The lock is open. You lift the heavy lid of the chest with painstaking slowness, wincing at the faint creak of its hinges. Inside, among folded silk robes and pouches of coin, is the scroll, bound with a purple cord and sealed with the Lord's own wax crest. You take it. It feels heavier than a block of stone. You tuck it deep inside your tunic, its rough paper a comfort against your skin. You have the objective. The heart has been stolen from the beast, but you are still standing in its den. Its teeth are inches from you, and the dawn was not far away. The mission is only half complete. Now comes the escape. The scroll is secure, a hard cylinder pressed against your skin. The mission is a success, but success is meaningless if you do not live to report it. You must now become a ghost once more. You gently lower the heavy lid of the iron-bound chest. You guide it down with the care of a priest handling a sacred relic. But it is not perfect. Just before it closes completely, it settles with a soft but distinct click in the utter silence of the room. The sound is as loud as a cracking whip. On the futon, the Lord stops snoring. His breathing, which had been a deep and rhythmic rumble, simply ceases for a heart-stopping moment. You freeze. His eyes snap open. They are not the bleary, unfocused eyes of a man waking from a deep slumber. They are the wide, instantly alert eyes of a trained warrior who knows that any unfamiliar sound in the night is a threat. His gaze has not yet found your shadowy form in the corner of the room, but he knows he is not alone. His hand, with a speed that defies his sleepy state, flashes to the stand beside him, his fingers wrapping around the hilt of his katana. He opens his mouth, draws a great breath, and bellows a single word that shatters the night. Intruder. That one shout is a spark in a powder keg. A second later, as if in answer, a great alarm bell begins to clang frantically from the main watchtower, its deep bronze tones calling the entire castle to arms. The sleeping fortress awakens into a state of violent panic. You hear doors slam open in the corridors below. You hear the sound of running feet, the clatter of armor, and the shouted orders of captains. The hive has been kicked. There is no more time for stealth. There is only speed. You boast from the Lord's chamber, a blur of motion. You are no longer a ghost. You are a fleeing rabbit, and the hounds have been released. You race down the corridor, your silent, measured steps replaced with a desperate, ground-eating sprint. You reach a T-junction. You can hear guards approaching from both the left and the right, their shouts echoing off the wooden walls. You are trapped. You reach into your tunic, and your hand finds one of the small clay spheres you prepared. The Kimuradama, a smoke bomb. You strike its fuse against the wall, a quick, scraping sound, and throw it into the middle of the hallway. It erupts, not with a great bang, but with a thick, instantaneous cloud of acrid white smoke. You hold your breath and plunge directly through it. You hear the guards cough and shout in confusion and anger as the smoke fills the corridor. Their vision completely obscured, you emerge on the other side and continue your run. You hear them behind you, their pursuit renewed but now disorganized. You reach the top of a long, steep staircase. Without breaking stride, you reach into another pouch, grab a handful of the wicked iron makibishi, and scatter them across the top steps behind you. You do not wait to see the result, but a sharp, satisfying cry of pain and a stream of curses tells you that at least one of your pursuers has found them with his straw-sandaled foot. The main path to the outer wall, you know, will now be blocked. The gates will be sealed. You must use your knowledge of the castle's layout, your mental map. You swerve into a side passage, kick open a paper screen, and find yourself in a small, empty room with a window overlooking an inner courtyard. You are through it in a second, dropping silently onto the wet gravel below. From here, You scramble up the trunk of a decorative cherry tree, its branches slick with rain, and haul yourself onto the sloping, tiled roof of a walkway. You are exposed now, a dark figure on the rooftops, silhouetted for a brief moment by a flash of lightning. Below you, the castle courtyard is a chaos of torches and running, shouting guards. You have escaped the keep, but you are still trapped within the outer walls. You are a cornered animal, and the hunt has just truly begun. The rooftops are a temporary sanctuary, but they are also a high-profile trap. You run across the slick, curved tiles, your body low, your balance tested with every step. The wind and the rain are your only allies, their noise covering your movements. Your mind, a cold and logical machine, even in this chaos, ignores the shouts from below and focuses on the map you built during your days of observation. You are heading for the south wall, towards the great, ancient pine tree, whose branches you noted offered a dark bridge over the moat. You reach the edge. The drop to the ground inside the walls is too far. The tree is your only path. You take a running start, leap across a gap between two sections of the roof, and land with a roll on the stone battlement of the outer wall. From here, you do not hesitate. You swing from the parapet, catch a thick, rain-slicked branch, and let your momentum carry you out over the churning black water of the moat. You release your grip and fall, plunging into the icy water with a splash that is swallowed by the storm. The cold is a shock that nearly paralyzes you, but you fight it. You swim underwater, your lungs burning, until you reach the far bank. You scramble out, a creature of mud and water, and without looking back, you plunge into the absolute darkness of the forest that surrounds the castle. The forest is a different kind of fortress, one whose walls are ancient trees and whose guards are deceptive shadows. Here, your skills are more at home. But you are not yet safe. Behind you, from the castle, you hear it. It is not just the shouts of men or the ringing of the alarm bell. It is a new, more terrifying sound that chills you more than the cold water, the deep, baying howl of hunting dogs. They have found your scent where you exited the moat. The hunt has been unleashed. You do not run in a straight line. That is the path of a panicked animal. You are a predator being hunted, and you must think like one. You run through the stream you find, its icy water washing your human scent away and confusing the trail. You walk backwards for 100 paces, using branches to brush away your footprints. You climb a tree, move through its high branches to another, and drop down 50 feet away, creating a gap in your trail that the dogs cannot follow. You use every trick, every piece of knowledge your master drilled into your mind to confuse the beasts and their handlers. The baying is closer now, a frantic, excited sound. They are near. You need to disappear. You find a section of the riverbank that is deeply undercut, with a thick mat of roots hanging down like a curtain. You slide into the freezing water, submerging your entire body, and press yourself into the muddy hollow beneath the bank. You leave only your mouth and nose exposed to the air, hidden beneath the tangle of roots. It is a living tomb. You hear them crashing through the undergrowth on the bank directly above you. The dogs are frantic, whining and barking in frustration at the river's edge, where your scent vanishes into the water. A samurai, his voice sharp with impatience, shouts at the dog handler. You see the flickering light of his torch pass over the water just inches from your face. You see his sandaled feet stop at the edge of the bank, directly above your hiding place. You control your breath, making it utterly silent, fighting the desperate urge to gasp for air. You slow your heart, just as you practiced in the compound. The moment stretches into an eternity of cold, suffocating terror. He curses the rain for washing away the trail, shouts an order, and moves on. The sounds of the hunt, the barking and the shouting, slowly fade into the distance, moving further down the river. You remain in your watery grave for what feels like an hour, until the only sound is the rain and the whisper of the wind. Finally, you pull yourself from the mud, your body shaking uncontrollably from the cold, every muscle locked in a painful cramp. The adrenaline that fueled your escape is gone, replaced by a profound, bone-deep weariness. You check the scroll inside your tunic. It is soaked, but safe. You have a deep cut on your arm from a sharp roof tile, and it is throbbing with a dull, persistent pain. You are alive, and you are, for the moment, free. But you are miles from home, deep in the heart of enemy territory, wounded and exhausted. The physical battle for the castle may be over, but the long, lonely war of survival has just begun. You lie shivering in the cold light of dawn, hidden in a thicket of ferns, your body a landscape of pain. You tear a strip of cloth from the hem of your tunic and tightly bind the gash on your arm. As the pain bites deep, a sharp, clean agony, your mind drifts to a darker place. It drifts to the lessons learned not in the training yard, but in a dark, windowless room, listening to the cold, quiet voice of your master. The lessons, not of technique, but of consequence. The lesson on the price of failure. They will not kill you, his voice echoes in your memory, a cold whisper from another life. Not at first. Death is a gift you will beg for. First, they will try to take your mind, and when that fails, they will take your body, piece by agonizing piece. You imagine it, as you have been trained to do, to understand the stakes. You see yourself captured, cornered by a dozen samurai, overwhelmed by sheer numbers. There is no honorable last stand. You are beaten into submission, bound, and dragged back to the very castle you just escaped. You are thrown into a stone-walled cell deep in the foundations of the keep. It is cold, damp, and utterly dark. For days they leave you. There is no food, only a little water. They want to soften you, to let the fear and the hopelessness do their work. Then the questions begin. Who is your master? Where is your village? What was your mission? You are trained to say nothing, to meet their questions with the same placid, empty silence you cultivated in your meditation. When your will does not break, the master's voice continues in your memory. They will begin to break your body. You see it with a terrible clarity. They start with your hands, the tools of your trade. Your fingers are bent back until they snap. Your knuckles are smashed with a wooden mallet. Between each wave of blinding white-hot pain, they ask the same questions. They take a fine, sharp bamboo sliver and drive it under your fingernails. They ask again. They are not looking for a quick confession. They are methodical. They are architects of pain. And they will build a cathedral of suffering upon your body to get what they want. You are trained for this, the memory of the voice says. You know how to dislocate your own jaw to bite off your tongue so that you cannot speak. You know how to find the moment of a guard's carelessness to take your own life with a stolen hairpin. Your death is your final secret to keep. Do not give it to them cheaply. But if you cannot take your own life, they will take it for you. And they will do it not in the privacy of a cell, but in the center of the town square for all to see. Your death must be a lesson. It must be a piece of political theater. They will make you an example, your master had said, his voice devoid of all emotion. He described the kamayude, the cauldron boiling. You see yourself, broken and shamed, dragged through the muddy streets of the castle town. The same peasants who averted their eyes from the humble monk now stare at you with a mixture of fear and hatred. You are a demon, an assassin, a creature of the shadows brought into the harsh light. You are stripped and thrown into a great iron cauldron filled with water. A fire is lit beneath it. The crowd watches, They jeer. The water grows warm. Then, hot, you feel your skin begin to blister, to peel away from the muscle. Your death will take hours, and your screams will be the day's entertainment, a grim festival, to celebrate the power of the Lord you failed to deceive. A cold shudder, far deeper than the chill of the wet clothes on your skin, racks your body. You push the vision from your mind. It is not a story. It is a promise. It is the fate that awaits you if you stop, if you falter, if you are found. This is why you endure the brutal training. This is why you master the art of silence and shadows. You do not fight for glory, or for honor, or for wealth. You fight to avoid this. You fight so that your death, when it comes, will be your own, a quick blade in the dark, a fall from a high wall, a dose of poison swallowed in a moment of final defiance. But not this, never this. The pain in your arm is a gift. It reminds you that you are still alive, and for now, still free. You get to your feet, your body aching, and you begin to move. You must keep moving. The horrifying vision of the boiling cauldron fades, pushed away by the immediate practical demands of survival. You are wounded, you are hungry, you are exhausted, and you are 100 miles from home, in a land where every samurai patrol is your potential executioner. The memory of the torture chamber serves its purpose. It fuels you. It becomes a cold fire in your belly that burns away your fatigue and your desire for rest. To stop is to be caught, and to be caught is to suffer a fate worse than any clean death the forest could offer. You become a creature of the wilderness once more, your training taking over where your strength fails. You move only at night, using the stars to guide you, resting during the day in hidden dens and hollows. Your body, a weapon in combat, now becomes a tool for survival. You recognize the edible roots and bitter herbs your master forced you to learn. You fashion a simple snare from vines and catch a small rabbit, which you cook over a tiny, smokeless fire and eat ravenously. You find streams of clean, cold water and drink until your stomach aches. You tend to the wound on your arm. It is deep, and the edges are an angry red. Infection is a constant, silent threat. You find a stream and wash it with the icy water, biting down on a piece of wood to keep from crying out. You remember your lessons on field medicine. You find a specific type of moss that is known to staunch bleeding. You chew a bitter, foul-tasting root, just as you were taught, and pack the paste into the gash to ward off the festering spirits of sickness. You bind it tightly with the clean strip of linen you tore from your tunic. It is a crude repair, but it will have to do. When you must cross open farmland or pass near a village, the monk returns. You pull the tengai over your head, its familiar darkness a welcome shield. You pick up your bamboo flute. You adopt the slow, shuffling walk of a man at peace with the world. But the performance is harder now. The shell feels thin and fragile. Your mind, trained to be a calm, dark lake, is now a storm of hypervigilance. Every farmer who glances up from his work is a potential spy. Every barking dog sends a jolt of ice through your veins. Your eyes, which should be humbly lowered to the ground, dart nervously at every stranger you pass. The stolen scroll is a constant presence, a hard cylinder tucked deep inside your robes, wrapped in oilskin to protect it from the rain. It is your victory, your purpose, the entire reason for this ordeal. But it is also a fire that could consume you. To be found with it is to be instantly condemned. Your disguise rendered meaningless. One evening, you pass by a village that is celebrating a harvest festival. The air is filled with the sound of laughter, of music from drums and flutes, far more joyful than your own. You see families, Men, women, children, sharing food and drink, their faces illuminated by paper lanterns. You watch them from the shadows of the forest, an invisible observer looking in on a world of simple human connection. And you feel a pang of something you cannot name, a hollow ache, a feeling of profound and absolute loneliness. You are not a part of their world. You are a ghost who walks among the living, and your only purpose is to serve the shadows. You turn away from the light and the laughter and disappear back into the woods. After what feels like a lifetime of this weary, paranoid travel, the landscape begins to change in subtle ways. You recognize the shape of a distant mountain peak. You recognize the unique bend of a particular river. You are back in your clan's territory. The tension in your shoulders, a companion that has been with you for so long, begins to ease by a single, almost imperceptible degree. You do not walk to the main gate of your hidden compound. You arrive at a specific, unremarkable spot in the forest, a small shrine to a minor nature spirit. You perform a series of actions you have memorized. You move 3 stones. You tie a specific knot in a piece of hanging rope. You wait. A few minutes later, a section of the hillside itself seems to move, revealing a dark, hidden opening. You have come home. You step inside, and the gate closes silently behind you. Leaving no trace, the air is familiar. You are home. But there are no welcoming parties, no shouts of triumph. You are a tool that has been returned to its box, ready to be stored until it is needed again. You do not go to the infirmary to have your wound properly tended. You do not go to the kitchens for a warm meal, nor to your quarters for a moment of rest. You go directly to the heart of the compound, to the simple, unadorned chambers of your master, the Jonin who commands the clan's shadows. His room is bare. There is no art on the walls, no fine silks on the floor. The only light comes from a single candle that flickers on a low wooden desk. The only furniture is the desk, a cushion, and a rack holding several old scrolls. He sits, writing with a brush on a long piece of parchment, his movements precise and economical. He does not look up as you enter and kneel on the tatami mat before him. The only sound is the scratch of his brush on the paper and the whisper of the wind outside. You do not speak until you are spoken to. This is the discipline. You wait, your body aching, your wound throbbing, your mind a strange, hollowed-out cavern after the intensity of the past weeks. He finishes writing a final character, carefully places his brush down, and then, finally, he raises his eyes to meet yours. They are old, and they hold no warmth, no welcome. They are the eyes of a master strategist, eyes that see people as pieces on a great, invisible game board. "Report," he says. His voice is a dry rasp, like leaves skittering across stone. You reach into your tunic, retrieve the sweat-dampened, boilskin-wrapped scroll, and place it respectfully on the mat between you. You give your report. Your voice is a monotone, stripped of all emotion. You speak of the castle's defenses, the number of guards, the state of their readiness. You mention the squeaking gate hinge, the lord's drinking habits, a potential weakness in the southern wall. You do not speak of the fear that seized you on the Nightingale floor. You do not speak of the cold that sank into your bones in the moat. You do not speak of the man whose neck you broke in the shadows of the stable. Such things are your own burdens. They are irrelevant to the success of the mission. They are not part of the report. He listens, his face an unreadable mask. When you are finished, he picks up the scroll. He examines the wax seal, unbroken. He unrolls it, his sharp eyes scanning the characters written there. He is silent for what feels like a lifetime. The only sound is the sputtering of the candle. This is the moment of judgment, the culmination of all your training, all your pain, all your risk. Finally, he rolls the scroll back up. He sets it carefully on his desk. He looks at you, and he gives a single, small, sharp nod. That is all. That is your victory. That is your reward. There is no praise for your courage. There is no word of thanks for the risks you took, for the life you almost lost. There is no bonus of gold coins, no promise of promotion. Such things are for samurai, who crave glory. You are a ninja. Your success is measured in secrets, and your glory is in the silence, in the fact that no one outside this room will ever know what you have done. Your only true reward is the fact that you are kneeling here now, alive, and ready to serve the clan again. You have done your duty. The tool has performed its function. He gestures with his chin, a dismissal. You bow your head low to the mat, rise without a sound, and back out of the room, leaving him alone with his secrets. You are a ghost once more. You return to your own empty room. It is identical to the one you left. You finally attend to your needs. You clean your wound properly. You eat a cold rice ball. You lie down on the hard mat. The adrenaline is gone. The fear is gone. All that is left is a weariness that goes deeper than your bones, a weariness of the soul. You close your eyes. The life of a shinobi is not a single heroic story. It is a series of silent, dangerous tasks, a cycle of tension and exhaustion, repeated over and over until one day you do not return. This is the truth of your existence. This is the sentence you serve. Not a sentence of immediate death, but a sentence of a life that is not your own. And tomorrow, after you have rested, you will rise in the darkness once more, and you will be ready to receive your next command.